This is CarTech TV, and today we're working on something pretty special. We've actually been getting some sponsorship deals, and Novsight has actually been gracious enough to send us out some fog lights and some headlights for our vehicles to try out and tell you how they work. So on this, we're gonna actually be installing these awesome little amber pod lights. They're 4-inch pod lights. They are white and they come with these amber covers so that you can use them like fog lights. And they got these super cool designs. They have an actual running light that goes in there in the shape of an X, as well as they got a couple different ditch light settings, I believe. Comes with all the wiring and everything that you're gonna need to hook up. So we're gonna get these installed. My kid, who's in auto shop, actually took these and started working on them and actually used the original plates that are for the original Honda Element fog lights that come stock. But we were able to mount these, and he did a really good job of centering them. Once we get them adjusted, they're pretty darn solid on here, and it uses all of our original mounting holes, and then they're just basically gonna fit right in there. First thing we have to do is actually get the bumper off so we can start working on these, get these fabbed up and mounted, and then we'll worry about the wiring. Let's go. All right, some of the tools we're gonna need, obviously, they're gonna be panel pullers so that we can get all of our little clips off to pull the bumper. You can use a flathead screwdriver, or you can find yourself panel puller tools. This whole set was about 20 bucks. Find it on Amazon, link in the description. I like to lay on this just so I'm not on the concrete. We're gonna start with just a flathead screwdriver. You can just kind of pry these up as you go. These will end up eventually breaking, so do yourself a favor, go on Amazon, find an extra set, because you're gonna break some. To finish it off, there's a little Phillips head or an 8mm screw here that needs to come out so that this piece can kind of slip out and out of the way up from the fender. Screw gun won't fit in here with the tire on, so I'm just going to use my little tiny ratchet and pull it out of the way. And there you go. It's just going to come right off. Be very gentle. Might be better to have a second set of hands. Penny doesn't count, but that way you're not worried about breaking any of your clips. All right, so as you can see, this is the original stock bumper that did not have any fog lights in it, yet it still has these holes on this mounting bracket. So now we just need to basically cut it out. All right, so once we got this thing laying on the bench here, get yourself a brand new razor blade. You might need a couple. Obviously, you want to find yourself a pack or something. And we're just gonna go around this and slice out very slowly so you don't mess anything up. And we're just gonna go through and do a bunch of passes until we cut right through this thing. As soon as I start pressing into it, it becomes more difficult. So you just wanna very gently take your time and do a couple passes. All right, I had to make a quick run to Home Depot because it looks like I needed some washers and some screws to mount these. Miguel from Element Lifestyle actually showed that these will be an appropriate set of screws to go in there, number 10 by 3/4, and they're the kind of wedge head, flathead screws. So we're gonna use these to go into these holes, and then we got a good purchase so that it'll be nice and solid. Penny, you are a good girl. Yes, you are. When installing these screws, do yourself a favor. Don't use a gun, you'll just rip right through this plastic. Just use a screwdriver. We're gonna just start with 2 washers and see what we get. All right, I am noticing a bit of a flaw with these Novsight lights, and that flaw is that this switch is connected to the entire harness. This is actually an aux beam that I've got. It's a panel that comes in a whole kit. Another video coming on that soon, but this one has a detachable piece, so it's just gonna be able to fit through the firewall a heck of a lot easier than this one. They do look to be about the same size, but when I have to go through something like a grommet in here, this is the best place I found, is with the fuse block. There's a hole right there with a grommet. Once I have to puncture that grommet is gonna just be harder to deal with than this. So having this be all one piece, it's kind of a miss on their part. Hopefully the lights work better than their engineering department did when it came to making this. There we go. So you can see my amp wires coming through this hole right here. So now that I have my pull wire and plenty of room, I just need to be able to fish this through this hole, which may take some finagling. All right, so there's my switch. Now I need to route it back through this hole down here. Penny, did you eat my wires? Back at it for day 2. We got the fog lights mounted. I got most of the wiring run through the fender well. I got to pull my amp wire back through, so we got a little bit more work to do there. Had the lucky pleasure of having my dog come out here, and my 8-month-old puppy chewed my wire for these, so now I have to solder new wires into there. That's going to be fun. But as you can see, we got this thing fabbed up. These are in place. We're gonna go ahead and run the wires, zip tie everything so that it's nice and secure. We've already tested them, and we're gonna go ahead and get these things back onto the car. So the path comes down, goes underneath the fuse block, underneath the air filter, down to here. Gonna have to zip tie this all in place, obviously power and ground, and then we actually continue down under this way, pop out here by the radiator, nice easy path. Now we're just gonna use some of these holes here on the bumper to use some zip ties. They're supposed to be waterproof, but I've seen better waterproofing. They're definitely not waterproof connectors, so we're just gonna go ahead and wrap this up in a bunch of electrical tape so that we don't have to worry about it. So I needed a place to mount the switch panel, and I decided on right here. There was a blank here, so all I had to do was cut a little tiny quarter out of the blank, and then I could run my wire through, and it came with some, 3M adhesive, use a little rubbing alcohol, stick it on there, and we are good to go. I think it looks pretty good. This is what he ended up with for our tape repair. Get the electrical tape on there as well, and then we use something called Tessa tape, and it's like it almost feels like Velcro, but it's nice soft stuff, just extra layer of protection.
It's good for protecting it from sharp edges.
All right, let's give this thing a test. All right, so it's another day in sunny California out here, and we are ready to get this bumper back on. It's gonna be a pretty easy process. You saw the removal of it, but one of the main differences, I went ahead and a while ago picked up this bag of clips. Got it on Amazon. You get 100 of them. I think it was under 10 bucks, and these are the clips that you use to actually put the bumper back on, all these pieces up here and that kind of stuff. Then they clip into place. I think 5 of those at an auto parts store probably cost you about 10 bucks. So just go ahead on Amazon, grab 100 of them, and that way if you break any of them, you're good to go. So we had my kids solder up the wires over here that my puppy ate. We got all these wrapped up in Tessa tape just so that they don't rub on any of the metal sharp bits. We got this attached back here behind the bumper with some zip ties, and we're gonna go ahead and move the bumper forward, clean up our wires a little bit, zip tie them and get them to the point where they're not rattling around inside the car, and then we're gonna get this bad boy back on the road. Kind of hard to see because it's so bright out here, but there's these black plastic pieces right here, and this piece needs to sit in between the silver and the black piece, kind of like a channel that it slides into. And then this tab down here, mine that's broken, this goes behind this screw. So you got to kind of peel this thing out of the way just a little bit so that that little tab and the screw will go back in place. I think I might just put 1 or 2 of these in up here so that it doesn't fall on me. That way I can tuck the wires. All right, Penny approves. So as we look up here, I think the actual front portion of the bumper, if I just kind of peel this out of the way, I'll be able to get to those wires and tuck them in. So I'm gonna get those all zip tied up. All right, so let's talk about it. Some of the benefits of these lights, definitely a great value for the money. They have a solid aluminum construction and they come with the entire wiring harness, relay, and switch all put together in one. And they're a pretty awesome upgrade to your looks of your vehicle. The beam pattern that they wash over the ground is actually really good once you get them angled properly. They're very bright. They cast the light way further down than my standard LED headlights that I have in here. Some of the things I don't like, I would say that they may not be as bright as some of the other premium brands, but they're definitely bright enough. I would say that these are probably brighter than you need. They do come with a pretty basic switch, however. The switch is it's a little bit funky and it doesn't detach from the wiring, so it made it a pain in the butt to run through any of the vehicle, going through a grommet or the firewall or the fender. It's just gonna be a little bit tougher than you would find with something that has a detachable switch to it. Final verdict. If you're building a Honda Element or any other vehicle for off-roading, for overlanding, for backroad driving, or just simply being able to see the Costco parking lot from a mile away, these Novsight 4-inch LED pod lights are a great budget-friendly option. I'd like to say thank you to Novsight for sending these out for us to try, as well as thanks to all of you for checking out the channel. We'll see you in the next one.